meeting of the Board of the Port Wardens, City of Annapolis Port Wardens, on Tuesday, December 23rd, 2025, will be called at 7 o'clock. In attendance tonight, we have Mr. McCobb, Port Warden Anderson, Port Warden Lerner, Port Warden Siegel. That was Port Warden Mr. McCobb. We also have from the city our main person, Michael Meekins, and we haven't had an alderman with us as well, a new one, Mr. Thorpe. So I believe Kim or Carrie is joining us in a little bit. So thank you all for being in attendance. We do in fact have a quorum. Actually, we're all here, which is fantastic. Thank you very much. So we are going to, there's going to be one adjustment. So we need to have a motion and a second to remove application port 2025-00016, 32 Williams Drive. And then we'll have to accept the amended. But can I get a motion to remove that port 2025?
I'll make a motion to remove the 16 from the agenda.
All right. Thank you very much. Second. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay. All right. Mr. Anderson, thank you very much. All right. All those in favor, please state for the motion of removing it to state aye or yes.
Aye.
Aye. I assume, Jared, you got
yes,
it?
aye.
Okay, great. All right, so that's unanimous. Thank you very much. So if I can get another motion to approve the amended agenda at this time, I'd entertain.
Make the motion to approve the amended agenda.
Okay, great. Mr. Siegel, Port Ward Siegel, can I get a second?
Second.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Lerner. All right. All those in favor of accepting the motion, please say aye or yes.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All right. All right. That's unanimous. Thank you guys very much. We have no administrative this evening, neither or minutes. I'm sorry. We do have minutes. We have 2 minutes to approve. I apologize for not. We need to approve the 2 minutes. So if I can get approval of the minutes, we've got to do October 28th, which were delayed for staffing reason, which was not an issue. We had voted on that last one, but we do need to actually, we've all received them. So let's approve on them right now. So the next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from October 28th, 2025 meeting. Can I get a motion in a second?
Motion to approve.
Mr. Lerner and Mr. Anderson is second. Thank you. All those in favor, please state aye or yes.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All right. Thank you, Mr. McCobb. Mr. Siegel, I believe that's unanimous. Thank you. If you just pop your hand up, it's sometimes easier than hearing over. Okay. We need to get now, the next item is the approval of the minutes from November 25th, 2025 meeting. Can I get a motion or a second to approve that?
Motion to approve.
All right, Mr. Siegel, thanks. Can I get a second?
Abstain. I have to abstain. I wasn't here last week.
No problem. Okay, Mr. Scott, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, all those in favor to accept the minutes from November 25th, please state aye or yes. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, I believe that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, no findings of fact this evening, no old business. All right, new business. Can we, let me read it first, port, and then we'll bring people in. This is, next item is the port, the application port 2025-000147 Loudon Lane. And it's to construct, I'm going to read semi-abbreviated of the full length, but it'll be very clear. And of course, it's clear on the application itself. Construct a 27.2 foot by 29.4 foot by 14.2 foot tall replacement boathouse with a 503.28 square foot platform. Number 2, replace in-kind 252 foot long by 6 foot wide timber pier and raise maximum of 2 foot elevation taller than the existing structure, all within 287 feet channelward. Number 3, construct and backfill 48 linear feet of replacement bulkhead within a maximum of 18 inches channelward of deteriorated bulkhead. Construct 120, this is number 4, construct 124 foot stone toe armor within 10 feet channel ward of existing bulkhead and replenish 28 feet of stone revetment. Number 5, construct and backfill 56 linear feet of replacement bulkhead within the footprint of the existing deteriorated bulkhead. And remove 1 mooring pile, construct 1 boat lift and associated piles and 2 PWC lifts, and replace in kind 1 boat lift and associated piles. So let's now, if we can, bring in all related parties. And we need to make sure we see the video, your video as well, because we'll swear you in. If you don't appear, please, I guess there's a raise your hand for Josh to bring in. So I know we have Mr. Hyatt here.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Okay. How are you?
I tend to move with alacrity.
Okay. All right. Are you, and you're the only one to speak to this issue, right?
I do have the property owner and our designer, Sean
Okay.
Robinson. They should be brought on as panelists.
Okay. Let's make sure everyone is in. And we'll go ahead and we will go ahead and swear everyone in. Okay. If let me see if I can do bear with me 1 second. I'm only looking at who spoke last. I have a brand new computer, so I'm like switching things around. I want to make sure I see all involved with the swearing in. All right, let's go ahead. All right, all those, anyone planning to testify, please raise your right hand. All right, Mr. Hyatt. All those planning to testify, please.
Do you want me to raise my right hand? I mean, I can, but I don't.
Yeah, okay. All right, you do solemnly swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give the Port Wardens is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you guys very much. Okay, so as a preliminary matter, the board will accept into the record the application packet, the staff report, and public comments. Would the city staff to the board, Mr. Meekins, like to present any additional information about the written staff report?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have anything to add at this point regarding the staff report. I would like to say that the applicant did meet in a timely manner the posting of the property, the advertisement in the newspaper, and the mailing requirement. And to date, the cutoff period for public comments was yesterday at noon. We received no public comments.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. If we can have the applicant's consultants, and feel free to share. It is one of the lengthiest ones we've had, but it's very well detailed. But please, who's going to do the majority of this, Mr. Robinson?
Yeah.
Okay, if you could share whatever whatever makes the most sense that you have, feel free to share the screen. I do have it open, so I'm sure the other Port Wardens do as well. And please, the floor is yours.
Great. Yeah, I'll share.
I'll get started here, if that's okay.
Go ahead, Alan.
A short introduction, and
Okay.
You have 14 exhibits. We offer them into the record. We're not going to go back in.
Good. Okay.
You have seen this before, and just so you are aware, we gave you all this history and this background because we had, a contested hearing before the MDE, and the MDE has approved everything that is before you tonight. It's all approved, and that license,
right.
Everything's there. So, I'm here if we have further contesting before the Port Wardens, but it doesn't appear that we have that tonight. So you ably listed the items that are in the application. I'm not going to repeat that. And just know that for the record, I'm Alan Hyatt, 200 Westgate Circle. I represent the owners of 7 Loudon Lane, which is PFC Holdings Trust. And Tim Newberry is one of the beneficiaries and trustees. He resides at the property with his wife, Casey, and family. He's on the call tonight and will be testifying in a limited fashion. The application before you, as you stated, is port 225 0014, along with the tandem building permit application, which is MAR 20250018. So for the most part, this is a redesign of a project that you've already approved. And there are certain requests that are being made really to make the project better. The project is underway, but the desire is to allow this to last for a long time, for generations. And as a result, the elevations have been expanded by 2 feet. And so the original pier is 2 feet higher than was proposed, which elevates the boathouse. And the boathouse had to be reconstructed because it sat on the bulkhead, which is being pushed forward 18 inches and raised. So it all is connected. And the boathouse is non-conforming. The MDE recognized that. I think you may have recognized that in the past too. And we're just replacing it in kind. And all of the rest of the items you enumerated are part of this application. And we think that Mr. Robinson, who has designed this project, will acknowledge that they satisfy the requirements of the code and meet the criteria that you have to consider. And you've already determined that it substantially did meet the criteria when you've approved it in the past. But this overall, the changes made with what's in place now should have no negative effects on marine life, wildlife, conservation, water pollution, should help with erosion, certainly doesn't create any navigational hazards. This is a wide part of the Severn River and it is certainly ecologically beneficial. As I mentioned, the MDE has approved this. It was contested, but there was never any appeal of the decision of the MDE. And they, in your packet, somewhere in one of these exhibits, is a painstaking response from the MDE to the various criticisms and complaints that certain people made. And all were found to be without merit. The applicant has been diligently proceeding with all of the project elements and never has abandoned any non-conforming use. It's been steadily proceeding. And, the plans are before you. We have some aerial photos that indicate that the boathouse was in being at least since 1957 and maybe before. So we have two witnesses tonight, Sean Robinson and Tim Newberry. Mr. Robinson is with Sean William Land Strategies, and I would now call on him to introduce himself to the Port Wardens. I think you have some familiarity with him, but for the record, Sean, just tell the Port Wardens who you are and what you do for a living, at least as related to the maritime design and construction, and just spend a moment to explain to them your experience with these types of projects.
Absolutely. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for your time tonight. And thanks for your diligence on the review of this project. As Alan alluded to, it's a pretty robust submittal package, but a little bit about our company is we do a lot of work within the critical area and also within the 100-foot buffer and the expanded buffers that encompass some of these areas. And then we also do a lot of marine contracting work. We're a licensed marine contracting company. And our goal is, and I think I've talked about this before, I mean, I grew up on the Severn as a kid. And so I'm very passionate about some of the things that we're up against as far as water quality and addressing some of the environmental issues, but then also helping landowners that live specifically in this area, just like Mr. Newberry, navigate through the permitting process, but also become a stewardship of the property. that they're taking over. And in this case, Mr. Newberry is an older house. It was built in the 30s, and it needed a lot of work, which I think some of the individuals on this call are very aware of some of the upland permits that the Mr. Newberry and his consultants navigated through. We became involved in the project for some of the revisions and consulted Mr. Newberry on the boathouse in regards to what Alan alluded to as far as the height. And one of the things that, like Alan said, that this is a modification. We already have a license. We had approvals for a lot of the work, so we just decided to do a modification. As Alan said, unfortunately, that's been, I think we're almost coming up on a year in January or February, and how long that this project's been trying to be delayed. But our goal is to also, it's not just the boathouse. There's some other upland things that we'll talk about later that Mr. Newberry has a vision for with his family. Mr. Meekins and MDE and myself work diligently on the other side of the property to navigate some bulkheads that were uncharacteristic. And I'd like to also thank Mr. Meekins for his openness to be. I know that he was very busy, but he was very open to working with MDE and resolving some of those issues just on the other side as well. And then lastly, we're going to be also proposing a different shoreline stabilization product as outlined, which is a revetment instead of doing a bulkhead, which we can talk more later on why that strategy was employed. But I'll let Alan continue.
Sean, is it accurate that you have secured permits for numerous maritime projects from both the Port Wardens and the Department of Environment, Maryland Department of Environment over the years? Is that fair to say?
Yes, that is correct.
And in Anne Arundel County as well, outside of the city, right?
Correct, yes.
About how many maritime projects have you designed and built, would you say?
I think we've been involved with, approximately 50 different projects. One of the partners in our firm has 35 years experience constructing these projects. We actually, in Anne Arundel, are one of the first companies to employ both tow protection in the upland areas to help, save trees that had erosion issues. Our shorelines, we have 3 active shorelines now that have been so successful that MDE's actually come out and done monitoring and held informational site visits with their new employees. And we actually have new hires that come to our sites to show them, what works and what doesn't work in regards to these sensitive areas.
Are you familiar with the city code along with the state code and state regulations as they pertain to projects such as this?
Correct.
Mr. Chairman, I would ask that Sean Robinson be admitted as a witness in the field of maritime, marine construction, and waterfront improvements as an expert.
Yep. Yes. Thank you.
All right. And then, Sean, just to confirm, you did the design work for this project, you and your team at your office, right?
That is correct.
And you have designed it to comply with the city regulations, or city code, I should say, as well as the MDE regulations. Is that accurate?
That is correct.
Okay. All right. Well, let's take a look at the plan, the application as submitted. And first, just take a moment. One of our exhibits, 7, shows the historical photographs. Can you pull that up just to show the Port Wardens the history of the aerial photographs of the boathouse? Can you do that?
Yep. I'm gonna share my screen. And I might have to come back in and come back out. So hold on a second.
Josh, I'm not sure why he had to go out and come back in, but the second you see him, obviously, if you can promote him.
He's back.
All right, I'm back. Sorry, it's we have the same thing, Robert, is the new computer, so we don't use Zoom anymore. So I'm just trying to share my all right, can everybody in a second should be able to see my screen?
Yeah, it's coming up. There we go. Thank you.
Let me pull this up real quick. So to Alan's point, we've created an index of different components of the submittal process. I'm going to go ahead and open up the actual application process. We're not going to go into the detail of all 68 pages, but I can start here with some of the plans that we prepared. I'll zoom in if anybody has any issues.
Exhibit 7, Sean, or no?
Yep, okay. Yep. So there's Exhibit 7.
And what does that tell us?
So every time we do a project, we pull, we own a catalog of, these are high resolution photos that the U.S. Department of Agriculture did. And these photos are really important for a lot of different reasons. They help us map shoreline. They help us understand the volatility of areas. What's also really important, I would like to discuss about this area specifically, is that you'll see some splotches, but those are what are called SAVs, subaquatic vegetation. They're kind of delineated in all this area. And then, the one thing we'd like to mirror is that this house, again, was originally constructed in the 30s. The boathouse was the soonest available years that are available is 1957. We clearly marked where the boathouse is in relation to the existing property, and it's still in existence in 1963, and then again in 1972, and then also in 1983. The thing that is also important to note is that we're approaching 100 years, which is pretty incredible for the lifespan of pilings. And as Mr. Hyatt alluded to earlier, this is probably the first boathouse. We've worked probably on 10 different boathouse projects and with either ourselves or other consultants. And this is the first boathouse we've ever worked on where it was constructed on top of an existing bulkhead. Most boathouses are channelward, 30, 40, sometimes hundreds of feet into the water, and they, kind of exist on the water themselves. One of the issues with the construction practicality of this boathouse, as you can see, is it's adjacent to the shoreline. So in order for us to be able to replace these pilings or even do the work that was initially specified for repairing the bulkhead, we would have to deconstruct the boathouse to get our equipment in to properly do this work. And this is just a unique way to show that the bulkhead actually extends and both of these pictures to the right of the boathouse. And then there are some return areas. There's also a lot of shoreline that we've mapped out that we'll talk about later as far as with the adjacent property in regards to Gudrick Beach. But these were images that we wanted to share, that the boathouse has been in existence for, coming on close to 100 years.
Okay. So now, if you would kindly walk through the application and quickly. We don't want you to dwell on anything in particular because, as I say, the port wardens have seen this in the past, but just do a review of the requests that are, and you can pull the plan. It might be easier just to work off the plan, explain what it is that the applicant is seeking to do here, and just confirm that the MDE has granted a license for all these things.
No problem. So, when we talk about structures, and that could be piers, that could be boathouses, platforms relative to mean low water line, MDE specifically says that it likes when we are, implementing new projects, they like to maintain at least 4 feet above mean low water line. Now, the reasoning for that is that they want to get more sunlight down to the riverbed. So the reasoning for the application when we first took over this project and we discussed with Mr. Newberry is there was the boathouse was unfortunately it was at its lifespan as far as the pilings were concerned. The rest of the boathouse, albeit old, was in great conditions. We had a pre-application with MDE where they came out. We discussed they had pictures. We discussed the intent of our project. The intent was solely that we could, and I advised Mr. Newberry that we could raise the boathouse 2 feet, which he was unaware, unfortunately, with his previous consultants. And we also told him that we could raise it 4 feet if we had gone through public notice, which is a longer process and could take up to a minimum 240 days. And this is all under the advisement and consulting and tangent with MDE. And we had just decided to go for the 2-foot raise because we were also mitigating some issues with shoreline erosion control, which we'll talk about later. So the application is a combination of the modification to raise the boathouse, but we still needed to remove the boathouse in order to be able to service the bulkhead area. I think probably the best thing to do is I'll kind of skip through some of the, I'll show you the site plan, but this shows the proposed boathouse that would be raised 2 feet. Again, we're very well aware that it can't change the dimensions, height, and length relative to what exists. So that whole 3-dimensional space is effectively only going to raise 2 feet. The bulkhead underneath there will also be replaced. And then as Alan said, in order to keep the minimization of disturbance for this area, we push the bulkhead 18 inches channelward. And then when conferring with Mr. Newberry and discussing all the innovative ways to deal with shoreline erosion control, because previously he had advisement to just replace his bulkhead as is. And I think everyone on the board is well aware that we like to, explain to clients what systems are better than others. Coincidentally, we're actually going to present for a shoreline that's adjacent, a couple properties away where we're doing a living shoreline. Unfortunately, the circumstances of the topography, the wave climate, and all the different types of analysis that we do in this area, a living shoreline didn't score well. But we did tell him that a revetment would be, although it's a more expensive practice, it's a better practice for a lot of different reasons, in that it actually dissipates wave energy. So there's a lot of waves actually that come through this area with just boat traffic, unfortunately, as well. So the burden of the shoreline can actually incur 3 to 4 foot waves, during a bad storm that lap up. And when that wave hits a bulkhead, it actually cuts down and suspends a lot of that sediment into the center of the channel, which is even more detrimental if there's SAVs which are present, which is, that's very prevalent in this area as well. So by implementing a revetment, it helps mitigate the energy of these waves. These are really good systems for minimizing the erosion and the accretion of sediment towards the channel. And we worked very closely on the left-hand side to try to minimize the impacts to adjacent property owners. And then on the right-hand side, as Mr. Meekins and I worked on diligently with the community to try to make sure that we replace the bulkhead in kind where it is. And, the intent is that in the future, we would like to work and figure out a way to protect and enhance the habitat and shoreline of Gudger Beach, which is part of the Wardor Community Association, which is actually here in the bottom right-hand area. So I can write this right here, just as an arrow. And then lastly, I'll kind of skip down to some of these pictures. So we just provided very detailed as-built informations of the existing information relative to all sides of the boathouse. And I mean, there are, with the boathouse, I will say, being built, most likely in the 30s and cadence with the actual structure, there's some things that really aren't to code. So the only things that we're really changing is that we will not have these larger openings in the existing railings that existed. Those will all meet building code requirements. And as collaborated with MDE, the access ways with the railings to the top of the deck areas were all built to code. I also want to show this. This is also a very good thing to show, is that, and we'll discuss this more as we go further along the presentation, is that there's the nice thing about the revetment with a 1.5 to 1 slope is that we can dissipate the wave energy, but when waves do inevitably come up and over and hit higher upland elevations, that we can maintain what's called a tidal flush, which is very important for water. It's okay for water to come into a property, but it needs to be able to recede right back out. And that's what makes that cycle uniform. It helps minimize the degradation of the upland areas. And, our intent in the future is to vegetatively establish these riparian buffer areas and, enhance the buffer with these types of systems. And then on the last part of the application, we put together some existing photos to show the existing boathouse. As you can see here in the bottom, just per our discussions, is that this part of the wall of the boathouse is actually built on the top whaler of the existing bulkhead. And so the reconstruction, although that this boathouse has actually got great old wood materials, is that this needed to come down so that we could get our barge and our materials in here to move and replace this bulkhead. And
You're
again,
going to use some of the materials that are there in the new facility, right?
correct. Yep. It's a really, the craftsmanship was impeccable. I think the previous owners, they did take care of the bulkhead of the boathouse. It was there was some enhancements as far as wood changes out here and there, but it's a pretty rigid structure. You can see that through the application process that the framing, everything's pretty well intact. There used to be an old, mechanized boat lift structure in there. But again, I think that our intent with working with MDE is that's actually my best worker, Bernie, my dog right there. But with working with MDE and you guys and the general public, and I'm not sure who's listening on the calls and on YouTube, is that we just want to be transparent. Our whole intent is really just to enhance the long-term, as Alan said, the long-term investment that Tim's making into this property, not only with the bulkhead, but all these other enhancements, and then the future enhancements that he plans to make as far as establishing the upland areas, as far as with native plantings and working against some of the invasive plants.
The location of this project shouldn't have any impact on any congestion within the waters or create any impact on navigation, should it? As a wide part of the river, right? No, that shouldn't make any difference, should it?
No, absolutely not. And I actually, just so that people can see, is it's a very useful tool, is GIS, which shows the boathouse right here in the bottom corner. And then if we zoom out, this is a pretty substantial part of the river. The center line of most of the channel is out here. There's more than enough room for boats to navigate freely in and out of even the adjacent cove areas. These are not navigable areas with boats at any juncture, just because these are pretty shallow areas in these conditions, these waters. That's why these piers are so far or further out. And I think what's also nice, as I will say, is that generally people are extending their piers because they're trying to get deeper water. They're trying, historically, the water was a lot more, had better depths. But what's been happening is there's so much land and sediment that's accreting and moving towards the center of the channel. So what Mr. Newberry is doing with the revetment is a very vital practice to help, the cessation of this, and so that even adjacent property owners don't have to keep dealing with the center of these channels filling in.
So the revetment helps with erosion and water pollution, would you say?
Absolutely. And then, as we kind of work to the right here, where I'm moving my cursor, you can see faint little markings, and there's a lot of subaquatic vegetation. So with the bulkhead and some of the energy that Mr. Newberry unfortunately faces here in this area, and you can tell, I mean, there's unfortunately over the years, as we saw from the historical aerials, I mean, there's over 50, 60 feet that the community has lost here because of erosion. So it's actually going to help the adjacent property owners with the community, because when unfortunately the water moves in different directions depending on what type of facing wind we have, but when that energy hits a bulkhead, it actually sloshes back into the next wave successions. And then this is what's called like a scour, or basically a rip. So that basically that water energy actually doubles or sometimes multiplies and really starts a bad erosion condition that's indicative of what's been happening in this corner. So it's definitely a much more advisable structure, specifically in this area.
How about, does it impact marine life and wildlife in a positive fashion?
Yes, I think what's nice about revetments is that, there's two ecosystems of stormwater. There's stormwater that we see surface conveyance, there's stormwater in the groundwater. So it basically allows that water to release back into these rivers and components of the bay where it's inevitably trying to get to without bringing sediment, upland pollutants, phosphorus. I mean, we've got issues with phosphorus and water quality now, even nitrogen. We want to make sure that we're minimizing the amount of that, those particulates that are going into the water. So a revetment has what's called a geotextile membrane behind it, which actually separates a lot of those systems and then makes it viable for the upland land to maintain stasis so that plantings can happen. I think that coincidentally, during the last year while we've been trying to permit this process, we had to mobilize our barge, and I had let Mr. Meekins and his team know at the city of Annapolis, because we were having such bad wave climate over the summer that we had really bad erosion behind the existing bulkhead, and it was really an eminent concern to address that issue.
How about the adjacent riparian property owners? Any negative impact on them?
Absolutely not. I think I would like to be on the record to say that I think we're all aware of the circumstance of why we're here today. But we had tried, because we always try to consult with adjacent property owners, and I always tell clients that unfortunately the water does not care about property lines. It does not care, the stewardship of these property owners is important to work together. We had even proffered with MDE to try to work on to explain why the revetment returns specifically in some of these areas were better, and they were substantiating that information. I think I'm gonna go back to the site plan real quick too, just to explain both sides. So specifically in this area, what's unfortunately occurring is that there's an adjacent beach area that you'll see in some of the even renderings that we provided in our site plans, is that over the years, there's a pinch point, and and the property line, it actually bisects the center line here. So what Tim's actually doing here by putting in the revetment will help, accrete some of the sand in these areas, but it won't continue as much erosion as which is again substantiated what a bulkhead would do. As far as you can see that there is a bulkhead in this area, and that's going to attribute much more volume when waves are coming and receding and then coming back into this area and eroding this out.
Okay. So in your opinion, does this project satisfy and meet the requirements of the city code and the state regulations?
Absolutely. I think I mean, we do a lot more projects on the Anne Arundel side. We have great relationships with all jurisdictions, and I always talk to us as like a liaison between property owners and educating everybody that's the last line of defense with the water. I think one of the things I really admired about Mr. Newberry and his wife were that they were willing to do these innovative practices where unfortunately they're more expensive. But he did not, he looked at this project like this is what's best for the long-term viability of the land. We talked about, the adjacent properties and how that's going to affect with erosion if he was, because like I said, initially he was going to just replace the bulkhead all the way around as is. And I think it was through discussions and his willingness to do things that are more innovative and better for this property. And I think as Mr. Newberry's had other conversations, even with the community, he's had conversations with Mr. Karpovich, who we're also going to be presenting his project later tonight, that they're both willing to work together on, helping with the Gudger Beach erosion issues and just making sure that the community and these properties have a sustainable habitat and shoreline for a long time to come.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I don't think we need to go through all the other exhibits. They're in the record. One thing I would point out in Exhibit 14, we have this existing pier that covered with water. It was an extraordinary event. We just wanted to show you that. Yep. And obviously this doesn't happen every day, but this is one of those, I don't know if it's a 50-year, 100-year, 10-year, but it's happening more often than we would like to see. So that's one of the reasons we wanted to raise the elevation. And all the rest of it I think is pretty clear in the package. Do you or any of the members of the Port Wardens have any questions specifically for?
Yeah, we'll go through. We got to go through the normal steps, but the questions are a little bit, and I don't believe there is anyone. So if I could, I guess I'll take it back a little. But and thank you guys very much. Just to verify, there's no public testimony either here or that was made. Is that correct, Mr. Meekins and Josh?
That is correct.
Okay, fantastic. All right. So in that case, there's no need for rebuttal. So I'm going to go ahead and ask one simple question.
I'm sorry. Mr. Newberry would also have a few words to say. Do you want him to speak?
Yes, actually, if he'd like to, if you'd like to, I mean, it's your application, so certainly
Sure.
if you'd like to say something.
Yeah, I'll call on Tim Newberry, and this will be brief. But so, Mr. Newberry, would you just tell the Port Wardens who you are and where you reside?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair and Wardens. Thanks for being here and the time and considering this application. Try and be quick. I am the owner, beneficiary of PFC Holdings Trust. Purchased the property due to a lot of the reasons that Sean and Alan have said. We plan to be here for hopefully generations, my kids and my kids' kids, much like the prior owners. And appreciate your consideration of this application.
Well, why don't you just take 1 minute and explain what your goals are for this project, and then we can leave it at that.
Yeah, I think it's appropriate on the goals to be staring at this picture. I think purchased the property in January of 23 and have been working, in my perspective, pretty diligently with the city and the various contractors, and made what I believe is a pretty righteous and collaborative effort with everybody in the community on the process. I think at this point I've got 17 approved permits, 6 approved plans with the city, and have had 89 inspections to kind of move the whole kind of property development along in the last almost 3 years. And quickly, with regards to the waterfront, this is the third kind of MDE license request that has been approved. And this is the third Port Wardens hearing that you guys are considering right now. The prior 2 approvals happened in May, June, July of 23 on the base case, about 4 or 5 months after purchasing the property. And then the first modification was approved in March of 2024 by MDE, and then in June by the Port Wardens in the city. And then as Sean alluded to, after learning quite a bit and coincidentally being introduced to Sean and his kind of holistic nature of waterfront preservation and erosion control and stormwater management, and after having seen this, what we're looking at happen, I'd say, 3 or 4 times since actually owning the property, it became apparent that I needed a much broader kind of set of expertise other than what I had previously understood, which is kind of get the consultant contractor to do their one specific thing. And so Sean's helped me and educated me quite a bit, and we've learned a lot, and we are planning to be in this for generations, for my kids and our kind of estate, if you will. And so this is to make a safe waterfront, which is good for my family and good for the community, and also is usable for the long haul, given kind of sea rise and the prevalence of the wave action and kind of volatility on this part of the Severn. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that would conclude our case. And as you
All
say,
right.
we don't have any rebuttal. So, we have the opportunity here for you and the Port Wardens to inquire with our witnesses.
Right. And one of the wonderful things about having such sort of rich content and the fuller the application, it's actually easier for us to see things and get to a logical conclusion. Just, you've already said it, but just nothing pier wise, length wise. The only element is the height, effectively the height of the boathouse and the on ramp to the dock going out towards the boathouse, correct?
And the revetment. Yep.
And okay, all right. I mean, I honestly don't have that was it. Again, it's so content rich, and it was quite a read, but
and I'd like to take just like a 2-minute, just because I think it's important, just because I think with the holidays and I just want to be, again, Mr. Newberry has been more than transparent, and then for anybody in the neighborhood, that we're also working on a lot of we prepared some, and these are preliminary concepts, but these are things that we work with clients on. So you can see that Mr. Newberry is enhancing his property with, we plan on doing, like we do with every project, is vegetative establishment. This is the revetment. You can see how water can come up and over and recede back down. These are all areas right now that promote habitat. And these are dense fibrous root systems. There's actually steep slopes in here. I know that you guys don't get the benefit of the doubt to see these sites and get boots on the ground. I know that Mr. Meekins may have seen some site photos, but these are the things that Mr. Newberry is not just coming in here with his family and developing, and he's really taken the initiative to enhance the existing shoreline. And that's also his long-term intent. And this will tie into what we're also going to be presenting as far as the Karpovich which is next door as well.
Thank you.
Okay. In that image, it looked like those where the boathouse door used to be. Is that enclosed now?
No, this is just conceptual.
Okay.
But
all right.
The things that are important is that, and anybody can look online right now, is that there's a lot of, grass areas here, and there's a lot of invasives. There's a lot of Phragmites on these bottom areas. And Tim's already done a lot of, with the grading permit, a lot of native plants have been gone in. Actually, this past fall, before he moved into the house, they did a substantial amount of native landscape and plantings here. And it's really great to see somebody that's coming into this property that's kind of been let go for a long time, and just start to really take ownership of it and transition some of these areas into the type of conditions that they really need to be in.
Okay, thank you. Let me go ahead and open the floor up to the other port wardens for any questions.
I have a question. I don't know if it really pertains. The old boathouse, did it have electric and plumbing? And does the new boathouse have electric and plumbing?
The old boathouse, yes, they both had electric and plumbing. We did it. We're not obviously going to be putting in the plumbing in because, um, unfortunately, it actually kind of just the toilet went down into the river, so that's not applicable
The
to
code.
the code. And there is like existing electrical systems, but that'll all be to code. So we'll do an electric data plane survey and make sure all the it meets all the regulatory new requirements. But yeah, to that point, they're not going to be putting in. There's not going to be like bathrooms or anything in here.
Yeah, that's what I sort of figured the plumbing situation before.
Yeah, you probably saw one of the pictures. I think that one of the pictures
Yeah.
had the old bathroom stall or toilet or something in there.
All right. Any other questions, Mr. Siegel, or other port wardens?
I have one quick question about the square footage of the platform and the walking surface. It's a total of 923 square feet. Now, often I believe that's limited. Is that limited in section 15, article 15?
Correct. If it's so again, if you have coverage that's pre-existing prior to 1994, you're allowed to either reconfigure or but you're grandfathered in for that coverage. So
So that platform previously there?
correct. Yep.
Okay, I got you. Okay, that answers the question. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Any other port warden questions? Okay. I assume all questions have been asked. I'm going to go ahead and declare the public hearing on Port 2025-00014, 7 Loudon Lane closed. And we can discuss the criteria. I mean, as Mr. Hyatt had discussed, it's well within you know, the placement, the erection, the construction, you know, section 15, 16, 20 is fine. There's no issues with the environmental. There's no issues with navigation. It's effectively a replacement in kind. I actually, well, what my opinion is, it is irrelevant, but I do think we're all going to be dealing with some rising elements, and I think we all have to embrace it. So I like that you guys have really put the effort into doing this in the most sort of environmentally logical way, despite expense. So as far as riparian rights, you're not close to the neighbor, you're not close to the setbacks, you're perfectly aligned there. That's 15, 16, 30. You know, what other discussion, anything from other port wardens?
I have one more quick question about the MDE and condition B in the permit, specifically that states that work above the mean high water must be reviewed by the City of Annapolis Department of Planning and Zoning. Has that been taken care of?
That's correct. So what we typically do is we'll get this port warden's approval, which is easier for planning and zoning in the City of Annapolis because they don't want to, you know, this is kind of like the cart before the horse. So, and then anything, actually probably the best picture to show is a section really quick here. So, you know, unfortunately with bulkheads, mean low water line and mean high water line travel along the face of the bulkhead. So that's basically where that line is. And then if there wasn't a bulkhead there, it would be mean high water line would be 0.9 above that. So what we do is, and then MDE says, hey, well, you know, when we work closely with them, we said, well, we can only go 10-foot channelward. But, you know, if you did some simple math and you did 1.5 to 1, but you have to, you'll see in this picture where the old bulkhead is actually here. So what we do to that point, and what Mr. Shapiro was just alluding to, is that we're investing in, raising this to a certain height relative to where these tides are coming to. I don't know if anybody's aware, but in the last few years, 3 years, we've had 2 tidal events that were, one was the third highest on record. We had a 4.1. We've had 4.1 with like almost like a 2 to 3 foot wave climate. So we've got 6 to 7 foot tidal increases that are that could be a pretty normal circumstance here, unfortunately. So, and to your point and question is that we're going to do grading and have to, get tidal flush because of the topography. And that's where it's nice working with the city of Annapolis and their team, and even Anne Arundel, is that we recognize that maintaining that tidal flush is important. Like if we didn't do that, is that water would be sequestered here and would not be able to get back out. So, and then we'll taper that grade. So we'll actually apply for a grading permit because the disturbance, with the city of Annapolis within the critical area, if anything's over 2,000 square feet, we have to go through the grading permit process, which we'll do in concert with the building permit.
That's basically your buffer management plan.
Correct. Yep, that'll be included. Yep. And then what's also nice, like I said, is why I wanted to show some of these. It's like this is some of the plantings that were, again, in the development stages, but the plants that we're going to be required for is to put in as far as like developing the buffer is we're going to be, right now in all these areas. If we showed you existing photos, this right area woodland is just covered in ivy. That Tim's basically engaged, the cleanup of, and we're going to eventually get native plants in there, and then on both sides. So that's going to create great dense fibrous root systems that'll keep the invasives out. But these root systems are really vital in absorbing a lot of that upland headwater before it gets into the bay.
Excellent, thank you.
Just as a reminder, everyone, public hearing has been closed, so no more testimony should be taken.
Right. We're now, Scott, discussing amongst ourselves, but these were all good points. Any other discussion amongst the port wardens? All right. I would entertain so at this point, we've discussed it. I'd entertain a motion to approve or deny the application in port 2025-00014 7 Loudon Lane. All those in favor, please state aye or yes.
We have a motion to approve.
We need a motion to approve.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, correct. All right. I need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
All right,
Second.
Mr. Lerner. All right. Second was Mr. Anderson. I said in.
Mr.
Okay,
Harold.
great. It was Harold. Okay. The second is Mr. Siegel. All right. All those in favor to approve the application port 2025-00014 7 Loudon Lane, please state aye or yes.
Aye.
Aye. All right. I believe that's universal. Thank you guys very much. Well done, Mr. Robinson and Mr. Newberry. Thank you. Mr. Hyatt, thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay. Let's now move the next item on agenda. Give me 1 second so I can open my application. Just bear with me 1 second. So this will be the next item is port 2025-00015 1 Alden Lane. And it's a removal of specified failing bulkhead, installation of living shoreline and marsh creation, 134 feet wide and 35 feet channelward, as well as installation of new pier orientation, 233 foot long and 6 feet wide, with a 10 by 20 platform and a 3 by 16 wide finger pier. If we can bring every single party that's related to this particular application in, that would be great. Let me get back to my Zoom. Okay, if we can bring everyone in, who is going to be part of this application? Okay, Mr. Robinson, again, thank you. Is there anyone else? Because I don't need to swear Mr. Robinson in again, but if there's anyone new that's related, I do need to swear them in. I guess there's no one else besides. Mr. Robinson?
Yeah, that's all I see, Mr. Chair.
Okay, fantastic. All right. Okay, so we don't need to do the swear in because we've already sworn him in. Thank you. So as a preliminary matter, the board will accept into record the application and packet and staff report, public comments as well. Would the city staff to the board, Mr. Meekins, like to present any additional information about the written staff report and or public comments? If there are any.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do not have anything at this time to add to the staff report.
Okay.
There were no public comments. I would just like to ask the applicant, I'm sure they're probably going to provide this, but you're going to provide the affidavits of notification, posting, and mailing.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
So other than that, I will turn it back over to the chair.
Okay, great. And we don't need to, Mr. Robinson, you've briefly described your qualification, so we are all set in that respect. If you, again, could share any of the documentation, it's a lot easier for us to sort of to see it and as it's explained, that would be great. And I'll turn it over to you.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. And I'll make this one much more brief just because I mean, what is nice is that they're adjacent properties. So just real quick, we were working on the property that's over here to the left. There's Gudger Beach, which is in between, and then one Alden Lane, which is right here below that. The one thing I do want to discuss real quick is that the topography is very different between the two. So you're going to see Mr. Newberry has elevations, relative to 7 or 8 in some of these upland areas, like relative to the boat, to the bulkhead. So when you see the renderings and the drawings that we prepared, this was a circumstance where a living shoreline we thought would be viable. We also, I'd like to get on the record that there are some, and you probably could see them here. So we worked with the Department of Public Works, is that there's actually an old, I guess from when we met them finally out there, there's old overflows for the sewer system, because there's actually a pump station that comes through here. So these are older pipes that we're actually going to work with Department of Public Works, that when we do come out there to do the installation, that we can remove. And there's actually another one that's in water. But then they're going to work on, there's a manhole right here. So it's interesting. Like there's a whole septic system that comes back through here. So the sewer system line comes back through here. So that's just something that I just wanted to let everyone know that we're kind of managing through. But as we go through the submittal application process, again, it's just to do the pier is an existing pier, so we are going to reconstruct the 224-foot long pier and 6-foot wide timber pilings and pretty much replace everything within the same dimensions. We're actually going to move it to another side and I'll explain that on the pictures here, just because it actually minimizes the impacts on the SAVs. You can actually see in this first picture here as I zoom in real quick. With me. So there's right here, there's like almost like an opening spot. So that's actually where we're going to actually move that to. Again, it's probably going to be in the center line of the property. It's going to create a better relationship for both sides. Lastly, these are the indications of the mapped subaquatic vegetation. So anything that we're doing is going to be out of the extents of those and those impacts. We've worked very closely with the Army Corps of Engineers and MDE. These are the sill orientations that we're proposing. And so we're gonna have both low marshes in the shaded area, high marsh here. And then this is what we were talking about earlier, that we're also implementing these secondary toe protections. And I'll discuss that in a minute, kind of like what that is. And then you can see the alignment of the boats, that they're adding a different boat slip here, and then they're moving the one boat lift that was on this side to this side over here. And then per Mr. Meekins' explanation, the permit, that there is an existing shed and some upland infrastructure that we have to get some permitting reconciled for, but the goal was to get all this work done. And then when we submit for building permit, we talked about strategizing to put all these together for the building permit in regards to the riparian access. And then also there's a small accessory structure that was existing that would be replaced in kind. And that's probably the good explanation of that. Again, I want to show you really quickly what I meant by this is another project that we just installed in Anne Arundel. But I think this is like, I wanted to explain the secondary tow protection so that you guys can see it in context. So you can see in here where when we have really bad tidal events, which is similar to what this side gets on there, so that they didn't lose any of these trees over there. And then this is actually, we were able to get with our proprietary planting system. This is the marsh establishment that we were able to attain after 1 year, which is probably one of the best projects we've had so far as getting the marsh established. So we were really happy and pleased with that. Previously, the owner had like really bad erosion all the way through here, but I just wanted to explain the context of it so it made sense. And then lastly, I'll just go quickly through the renderings again that we prepare. I do understand that, you know, when we work as consultants, you know, we work hand in hand with the jurisdictional oversights, and even your board is important to help people understand and make sure that they see how these spaces are livable. And it's important. I think that one of the biggest things I think is important is that, you know, you want people to engage with the water. You want them to be around it, because that's going to make people actually care about it and want to do more for it. I've actually talked to FDE about this, where it's actually, we should encourage, like, you know, maybe, you know, systematic development or things that like get people engaged, and that they're going to be a bigger proponent of what we're trying to do. Again, this is the existing house. It shows the establishment of the marsh grasses. Right now, as all this exists, is there's basically some steep slopes that need to be stabilized. So we're going to be getting some dense plantings in there, and then there's an upland like beach area that we're establishing some vegetation in, and again, similar to what we talked about the other project, as water comes up and over here. I mean, these elevations are like 3 to 4 feet. So we want to make sure that we get tidal flush. So the main goal of this project is a little different, and with it being a living shoreline, but the goal is to basically, you know, get stabilization in this area where there's actually a small little bulkhead that's really not doing much. So there's a lot of erosion and exposed land in these areas, and then establishing a native dense buffer.
Okay. I guess the owner's not speaking to this, and you're I assume concluded with, and we can get to there is no public testimony, correct? No one's present. There was no one so there's nothing to rebut. I'm correct in that, Mr. Meekins, right?
Yeah, there were no public comments.
Okay.
And I don't see anybody right now.
Yeah, Josh, no one's raised their hand. Okay. I have, do you have a picture of the existing shed? Because it looks like the platform that the shed shows on your newer renderings does not look like an in-kind. It looks like a pretty severe change. Furthermore, I'm a fan is the wrong term, but in-kind, you know, we're making a brand new dock effectively. It's not really an in-kind replacement if you relocate it entirely and change the end of it as dramatically as you've done. I still think it's within its appropriate size and space for a dock in that location, but putting a building over the water is a slightly different ballgame. So is the platform and the existing shed that's down there now that exact same footprint?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Yes, I'll pull it up right now. 2 seconds.
Okay.
It's kind of an interesting, there's a bottom platform, I'm assuming was at grade. Let me pull these pictures up a little bit bigger so you can see them. And this is the problem in this condition. This is all upland of mean high water. Just, I want to be on the record that this is basically has to go through, it's in the jurisdiction of planning and zoning and grading, and it's everything, MDE doesn't have any jurisdiction over this either.
If I might interject, the Critical Area Commission would be weighing it as well.
Okay. All right. So it's not really built over the water.
No, I mean, if I draw
related.
this, if I draw this over, let me show you too, approximately. So
Okay.
mean high water line as it exists right now is probably somewhere in this area.
Okay. All right. That's cool. That's good. I just wanted to make sure we weren't the ones approving.
No, this is not in the application.
Okay. That makes perfect sense. All right.
But I wanted to show, so this is the existing bulkhead. You can see this is the, unfortunately the water just comes up and over, and what we're
is buried it.
Yeah. And the other thing is it's actually caused an issue where there's lower lying areas where the water can't get back out, which is probably, caused the degradation of some of these areas. So, I mean, our goal is to basically get these, transition all this turf grass that's here. I do think that, it could be a great project for a living shoreline. I mean, that's the existing beach area that they had, but you can see on these hills is that we're going to, there's just mulch and some stones, but we want to get a great establishment of native perennials and grasses and all these different types of plants that are going to help maintain these areas. There was, I thought I had a picture too. I wanted to show you of these pipe systems that we're keep running into, but I'll look for those while we talk through this.
Okay, why don't I go ahead and open up the questions of the other port wardens? Jared?
I don't have any comments.
Okay.
Me neither.
Josh, do we have any other Mr. Siegel, Mr. Anderson, Mr. McCott? Any questions?
No questions.
No questions. Okay. All right. It looks like there are no more questions, and they've all been asked. I declare the public hearing on Port 2025-00015 1 Alden Lane closed. As far as, and again, I'm glad that we determined that the shed was not our domain. But yeah, I mean, everything I think the redesign and the relocation actually is a great situation for both neighbors, as well as a better use of the space for the owners. So as far as, compliance with 151880 and, well, that's the harbor line, but 1518-100, which is the lateral line, and the setbacks are actually better affected than where it was originally located. Obviously, the construction quality is being undertaken in an appropriate manner. That's 1516-20. There's no navigational element because you're not protruding that far out to what is a pretty wide navigable area. So that's 1516-20. Actually, no, I'm sorry. That's a 1516-20. So, I mean, to me, it looks all within the particular statutes we're responsible for. Port wardens, any other, let's discuss amongst ourselves. Any thoughts?
Looks good for me. Looks good.
Okay.
Yeah, not to interrupt anything, I just wanted to show you, Mike, specifically your team too, because these are those pipes I was talking about. You could see faintly when there's a low tide, there's basically, in what Department of Public Works, there's no as-built infrastructure, because unfortunately the whole system comes underneath of all this. So that's what we're kind of going up against in the future. But MDE and Army Corps of Engineers came back on site visits. They were just wondering, these are basically, I guess, with a sewer system over.
I'll let you guys, I'm gonna, since it's not our domain, I'm gonna let you and Mike.
These pipes will be, they're like in the water, so that I just wanted to let you, in case you guys are seeing them or someone says anything, we're gonna work with Department of Public Works. We had Jennifer Fight, I think, was out there, and we're gonna work on getting rid of them because they're a pretty big hazard because they're like, I mean, they're really in bad shape and decayed, and but we didn't want to just cover them up because I don't know, there's basically a sewer connection here, and they don't think that there's a valve here. Unfortunately, they're not being used. Fortunately, they're not being used anymore.
Yeah, they're abandoned, I assume.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Again, I'm leaving that in the city's hands. I think that the rest of it within our purview and what Title 15 has to deal with is we're fine there. But I do, again, any other Port Warden discussion related to this?
No more discussion.
Okay, fantastic. All right, we've discussed the code. I will entertain a motion to approve or deny the application in Port 2025-00015 1 Alden Lane.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Mr. Anderson, Mr. McCop, I'll take that as the second. Thank you. All those in favor of the motion to approve the application, Port 2025-00015 1 Alden Lane, please state aye or yes.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you. That is unanimous. Thank you again, Mr. Robinson and everyone else. All right. We can move forward. Is there anything else for the good of the order?
Done here.
Okay. All right. The next regular meeting will be, I believe it's January 22nd. I need to double check.
27th.
27th. I'm sorry. Okay, 2025. Or no, 2026. So
That's
all right.
next year.
I know. There being no other items on the agenda, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All right.
second.
All right. Thank you.
And I'd like to thank our new alderman, and hopefully he was well entertained tonight.
Yes.
I am most impressed at the diligence for which you guys take on your duties. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us. All right.